You are trying to avoid the hard emotions by chasing after something that feels better, and that's why you overeat. I am the queen of this. I did this for such a long time because I would binge eat, and I got up to an astronomical weight for someone who's my size, and it was because I was trying to avoid everything that ever happened to me. Pair this with a late diagnosis, and you have a perfect storm. When I was 23, I found out that I had ADHD, and even before then, I was already well on my way to obesity, like the second class of obesity. And the reason why was because a lot of the things that I had suffered when I was a child, I didn't want to feel again because I was finally an adult and I was finally able to make decisions for myself and escape all of the trauma and the pain that I had went through, which is, you know, I think normal. And a lot of people resort to things like partying with drugs, alcohol. Overspending is one that a lot of people don't talk about. A caffeine addiction, addiction to overworking, and things like that. And mine just happened to be mostly overeating and binging to numb the pain, to numb the feelings. And what it did was it led me to isolation. And I feel like that's what a lot of us do, is that we try to isolate ourselves, do the thing, and then feel better about it. But the problem is that it doesn't fix the issue, it just masks it and actually makes it worse. When I was 215 pounds, I didn't have a lot of things in life that gave me any dopamine, which is important for anybody, but especially my brain. And so food was that one thing that was reliable. It was something that I can control, and it made me feel like I had some kind of power over my life and over, what happened to me. And I never really thought of it that way because I just thought it feels good or whatever. But looking back on how my brain works, it's definitely what it was. I was trying to assert control and power over my life. Unfortunately, I was doing it in a way that was so unhealthy for me, and I didn't realize until it had gotten a little bit out of hand, as some people would say. And I know this happened 5 years ago, but I think the biggest blessing I got during the pandemic was being able to do a lot of shadow work and go deep within myself and feel comfortable finally with feeling whatever I was feeling, getting all the anger out from all the childhood experience that I had that were traumatic, and just being okay with having big emotions in a safe space. I had created a safe space for myself, and I actually started investing in myself to help regulate my nervous system. So I did things like Reiki, I did a self-love mastery course where I actually became a certified self-love coach, and all the investments that I made in myself that year taught me how to properly love myself and truly accept myself for who I am, ADHD, trauma, and everything. And I think that's so important because a lot of us do not feel seen and we don't feel heard because there's nobody to talk to about something that's deep like that. Most people say, "Hey, how are you doing?" but they don't really want to know. And so once you release the burden of shame and actually accept yourself for everything that you went through, but also understand that just because you went through said thing doesn't mean that that defines your worth. That was one of the biggest lessons I learned in 2021. So after going through that and after finally healing that part of myself, it became about building habits and building a lifestyle that I was really unfamiliar with. And that was one of. So the question that I would ask myself was, what would somebody who is worthy of living their best life and being in alignment with their true selves do? What kind of lifestyle do they have? What kind of habits do they have? Behaviors? Who do they surround themselves with? Etc. And at this point is where I literally just turned Delulu. In a good way, though, not in a super crazy way. The difference between doing it the good way and the Delulu way is that when you do it in the good way, having delusion, but in a good way, is you actually take action behind. You actually take action while actually being delusional. The chaotic way, or the way that doesn't work, is when you just imagine it all the time but take zero action. That's just being crazy. And so the action I would take would start off very small, and it started off with affirmations. I would put sticky notes in my bathroom. I would allow myself to feel all of my feelings because I know I was releasing everything. I would go outside a lot more, connect with nature, journal. I would read. I would do things that I was interested in doing. It's also when I started taking yoga a little bit more seriously. I got a certification in Reiki energy healing and allowed myself to tap in with my inner child. And then I would pay attention to the types of food that I was eating and kept a food journal of foods that made me feel the way that I wanted to feel, which was really good. So I did that for quite some time, and eventually I ended up leaving the vegan community. I was vegan for 18 years, and I left. And I started doing things that made me feel really, really good. Started eating chicken, started eating shrimp and eggs, and started learning more about a balanced diet, and that approach really helped me to lose weight and reverse my PCOS symptoms. Got my period back, and it felt really good, and I felt really proud of myself because I felt like I was there for me. I didn't abandon myself, like I was actually there for me. I was present and I was conscious of the choices that I was making, but this time they were good choices. So that was around 2023 2022, 2023, and I just built off of that, and I continue building off of that momentum, and I will continue doing so. And that is the way that I was able to heal a lot of my traumas, was just being present with myself and not abandoning myself when things got dark or scary or anything like that. Whereas before, I would not want to feel anything because it just felt like it would be catastrophic and too hard and scary. I leaned into that because if I'm not there for myself, nobody else will be there for me. So why would we abandon our own selves? It doesn't even feel good at the end. And a lot of the problem nowadays is that everyone's chasing an aesthetic, and they want to match their dream boards and all this other stuff, which there is nothing wrong with it and you can absolutely manifest it. But just thinking that it's going to go 100% in your favor, everything is going to be love and light the whole time, is just unrealistic, and most people don't realize that. They get disappointed when things get a little bit scary and dark, and they end up leaving and saying that it's not for them and revert back to their old habits that got them there in the first place. I have so much respect for the women who have gone on this journey because it is hard. There are lots of ups and downs, but at the end of the day, you do not quit because you know your worth now. You finally know that you are worthy. This is the final look. Thanks for tuning in. If you find this relatable, go ahead and like and follow.